Yeah. So thanks everyone for joining us. We're super excited about this session, and it's one of the our sessions that we organize weekly on MentorColor so that you can learn about specific topics. So just to give you a bit of an overview of what MentorColor is. So at MentorColor, what we're looking to do is we want to see more people like ourselves, like people of color in tech. We believe that there could be a lot more of us, and we want to provide the opportunity for you to learn from experts in the field, so that you can also get access to some of these opportunities. And for some of you transitioning into tech, this is also a good opportunity for you to have a platform like this that supports you. So we have the MentorColor platform where we're primarily focusing on connecting you to world-class mentors, and you can book mentors on the platform, over 250 of them as of now, and our mentors work at lots of companies that you're familiar with, and a lot of other global tech companies too. So you can find mentors from different domains. What you can expect is that our mentors can guide you through one-on-one and group mentorship sessions, and you do this online, through video calls, and you can get support across different topics. So it could be like you're preparing for an interview, you need a mentor, you can get it on MentorColor. If you want general career advice, you're trying to transition into tech, or you want to change roles within tech, you can also get support on that. If you're looking to improve your soft skills and your leadership skills, you can also get mentors on MentorColor that can actually help you with that. So you can get a wide range of support and across the different domains in tech. So from front end, this session is specifically geared towards front end, but if you're interested in back end, in data, in machine learning, in product, or even in leadership, you can find mentors that can support you on that. And finally, like I said, we have lots of sessions like this one. So feel free to go on mentorcolor.org and join any one of these sessions. There's a lot more than those that are displayed here. So we have this weekly. So these are things that you can constantly like benefit from and continue to grow your career in tech. So that's it. I will stop sharing and hand it over to Rahul.
Yeah, thank you. So let me share my screen. So hello everyone, good morning, good evening. I think people must be joining from like across like different time zones. So hi everyone. So this session is going to be about how to break into front end. And yeah, so first a little bit about me, myself, Rahul. I am currently working at basically Uber. So I'm working with Uber India as of now. So we will I will share something like a little bit brief about me and why is that important. That will actually help. I will tell you in coming slides like why that's important. So like currently I'm working with Uber from last almost 2 years as a front-end engineer too. And previously I have worked with multiple startups in India. So Directa is one of the startups. Then we have Rivigo in logistics, HelpShift, a SaaS startup. Then we have MindTickle, a Class Plus. So like I did multiple interns in multiple interns also basically. So in startup MindTickle and Class Plus, I did my internship. And in the last 4 years, I have worked with multiple companies basically. So like this is a little bit brief about me. And now how I can help with like breaking into front end, right? So because so that's why like it was important to know like where I have worked. So I have worked because I have worked with multiple startups. So like currently I'm working with a big MNC like Uber, as you know, it is one of the big MNCs in the world, has offices around the world, and in terms of like compete with the like top companies like Google, Facebook. So except that I have interviewed with multiple companies like Google, Facebook, Snapchat, startups in like I have also interviewed with multiple startups across European regions, Amsterdam, Berlin, Hamburg, and yeah, so I have interviewed the Indian startups also basically. So now, yeah, you must be wondering, okay, like, okay, that's good, like you have done this, but why are you telling us, right? So because of this, basically, so I have gained a lots of exposure, basically, lots of knowledge how things works in the front end, how to crack a front end interviews, basically. So that's what I have, that's we will be sharing one of the things in today's session, basically. So like how to crack interviews. So this is like today's session is also about like how to start front end for beginners, also how to advance it, how to get job. And in the last we will be talking about Q&A, basically. So if you have any questions, we have last 10-15 minutes for that, basically. So yeah, let's start. So first of all, like I think like like people might have sometimes confusion actually, like who is a front-end engineer, what it do actually, right? So it's good to get a clarity on it, like who is a front-end engineer, basically. Right, because there are multiple profiles, right? If you go into market today, you will see lots of profiles are just not with the name of front-end engineers. They might be front-end engineer, UI engineer, sometimes UI UX engineer, right? JavaScript engineer, React engineer, right? So you will see lots of different profiles, basically. But at the end, you might be doing the same work with all the like under all the names. So a front-end engineer, basically, the first thing is they can build UI with HTML, CSS, basically. That means that's also the part of the job that they can build. They should able to build a good UI, good and efficient UI. Definitely, they can work with JavaScript and can build JavaScript heavy applications. Can build like a responsive web apps which can work across multiple devices. Just to be okay, so if someone don't know what is responsive, responsive is a single website which can work across let's say let's say work on a big screen, like a big monitor of 30 inch or 40 inch, right? I can work on a big 16-inch laptop, 14-inch laptop, 13-inch laptop, can work on your iPads, basically, can work on your different mobiles. I mean, we all know how many like different mobiles we have, so it should able to work with all the mobiles, basically. So this is just on the engineering aspect. So it is also expect that you should have a, you can have a good communication skill so that you can do cross team communications. You can lead things in the front end world. Like you must think, okay, what's this? So this is like basically you can have initiatives, basically, in the front end, basically, like how to like build something new, basically, uh, trying to solve a problem, trying to identify a problem in your company, in your products, basically, and leading the effort, basically. And yeah, browser knowledge is always important for a front end engineer. And yeah, so backend system you don't need to know like full in depth, but yeah, you should have a general knowledge, so that it helps you in communicating with the backend engineers, basically. So like these are the like basically a front end, anything which can do on the front end, basically there's no specifics. Sometimes the engineers, like front end engineer might be doing JavaScript heavy applications, so there's too much JavaScript work and very less on the like building UI. But if you see some of the like like highly animated if you see some highly animated let's say web browser games, basically, if you see or anything like which has like really good animations on the, like if you have seen the websites which are have really good animations, so that are like most like CSS efficient, basically. So they are like it's less JavaScript focus, might be more like you have to work more on CSS. So every expert is expected, basically. But yeah, so this is like in general like what all a front-end engineer can do. So definitely, I mean, it's a lots of things, a lots of skills are there as a front-end engineer, basically. So now the question comes, how to be a good front-end engineer, right? So like when I talking about a good front-end engineers, I mean like someone who can work with any type of atmosphere, like a can work with a startup, can work with a big company, or can work with the like a small medium scale company also. So like JavaScript fundamentals, that's very important. Trust me, that's very important, and that's the one of the skills which lacks most basically. So like you always start JavaScript, then you people start get fascinated by frameworks like React Vue and they directly dive into it. But fundamentals, they generally lost on the fundamentals, and that's where it's important basically. That's why like if you are really good in your fundamentals, it will be really easy for you. So that's why I have written most important, because it's one of the most important thing. So second, you should be you can able to build things like HTML, CSS, and using vanilla JS basically. Like because you don't want to get in the complexity of frameworks every time. What if you just want to build a simple page, right? And why to use even any framework for it? So you can build, if you use pure vanilla build using this HTML, CSS, and vanilla JS, it will be more efficient, more SEO friendly, and it will be very fast, right? Nothing extra in it. So you should be able to do that. And also, if you start practicing more in this, you can understand the importance of frameworks, why we need it, and how to build those design, what design patterns you might need. Then you understand, okay, how the actually might be any of the frameworks works behind them basically, because every framework has a different philosophy. And one, I think, which might many people ignore or disagree with. So let's not go into that, but problem solving is important, and having a basic knowledge of data structure algorithm is important, because many times you need it. Yes, you might not it every time. It's not like, sir, you are doing a very DSL, data structure algorithm heavy intensive work. It's not about that. It's about basically data structures, and whenever required, you can use them efficiently basically at what time you what structure you want to use, and do you even need it or not need it. So you can do those calculations basically, that if you want to use it, which one want to use it. So this is very important, comes in handy. So this is just not for the purpose of to be in your daily or work life. This is also related to helps in interviews also. So there's always two important things. Like, you might be really good at work, but if you can't crack the interviews, that's also then you also have to do something about it. So yeah, and always keep learning, learn best practices from best people around the globe. Keep following the best people around the world. For example, if you are React, then you can keep checking following Dan Abramov, Kenzie Dodds. They have written React and React testing library. So they always keep publishing things about it, so it will always helps you learn. And yeah, once you're done with anything basics, fundamentals, yeah, then you can jump to any of the frameworks basically. Which framework, it doesn't matter, because I feel you should be the person who you know accept this part in top four. If you are good at it, you are the fundamentals person whose fundamentals are clear. Frameworks, you can choose whichever is currently going in the industry and can required basically. So for example, I think React is very high on these days, so that will be really beneficial basically. But framework, you can easily pick it up if your fundamentals are clear. Okay, yeah, so now let's say okay, that's good, but how to practice JavaScript? So that's, I think, many times people have the question basically, how to practice JavaScript. I mean, and I think that's everyone face it also. uh, okay, let's say you go to any website, let's say W3 schools, FD in JavaScript. Okay, you learn about variables, you learn about looping, classes, prototypical inheritance. Okay, that's great. I mean, I learned it. How to practice it, right? That's actually matters, right? Because just reading through it theoretically, it's okay, but how actually you become really good at it, you become the feel proficient in that language basically. So there can be multiple ways, but I suggest two things here which will solve two things by doing one thing. One, if you solve data structure algorithms using JavaScript, you will eventually be using everything basically. You will be using your all the looping variables, all the closure concepts, basically your like maps and everything. So you will become efficient in using JavaScript. Basically, like you become really good at it. Okay, like how to code in JavaScript. So you at least like all the basic things will be really good at it. And also if you do like more problem solving, so even you can also learn so many concepts, because like data structure is a generic thing. It's not a language focused thing, but any data structure can be implemented in any language basically. So in front end we have only one language, which is JavaScript. So that's one way to do it. So but except that also there are other things like classes, basically like classes, productable inheritance, that of course you can't do it with data structures, like a little bit but not that much. So to do it in more practice, basically you can build actually classes and models basically. For example, you can try to build let's say library system basically, right? I know that's a very cliche like a cliche project, but think about it, like build a library project, and in either you will be building multiple classes and inheriting classes. So this will actually be a very very good exercise, in very good exercise to practice basically. So if you do this basically, so these are like this will not stop basically. Data structure is not like you do 5, 10 and it will be done. So there are like hundreds of problems people actually practice. So if you like go online, read about people. So if you sure about lead code, so lead code is a platform where people practice questions, problem solving questions. So people before interviews actually do like 500, 600 questions, right? So when you do 500, 600, you'll eventually become really good in at least your language basically. Your language skills will be really good, and problem solving definitely will improve a lot basically. So that's about the practicing JavaScript. So for now, we know how to become a good engineer and we know how to practice JavaScript. Okay, let's go to next. So any resources? Yeah, so I will say there are like so much resources available, but I think these two will do 2, 3 will cover everything basically. So this you don't need to. Uh, anyone asking anything?
No, it's
Okay.
fine. You can keep going. Yeah.
Yeah, so these are the resources basically. So like javascript.info mostly covers everything basically. So like then developer like MD and JavaScript is the second one. Third is the gigs for gigs, and practice you can do at lead code. So these are the basic ones, and like these are for the beginners basically. And also like sometimes like if you don't know some concepts, it's also like anyone can go for it. So just not for the beginners. So javascript.info has multiple things, even like experienced engineers required sometimes. And yeah, so I think one which Rishabh is sharing, Frontend Masters. So that's a really good resource. I mean, that's a really in-depth basically. So it has like I think 7, 8, 10 hours long. Yeah, it's not free actually, but if you're already working in the industry and if you can, I will say like afford it. I think definitely it's a good investment. So people who are already let's say in the industry want to become more like explore or want to go in more depth. So that's actually a good resource, frontendmasters.com. So, okay. So the next is basically what projects to build using vanilla JS or frameworks. Yeah. So that's trust me is the like most confusing things. Even like I used to got confused in college, what to build, I mean, okay, I have learned it now, what to build. I mean, like sure, like everything is built around me, like what should I build? I'm not able to find anything new. Right. So like the very basic thing here is we need to just think like what we are, what's our purpose basically. This purpose is always the important basically in anything. Like your goal is important, the purpose is important. So when we someone doing a startup, their purpose is definitely to build something unique basically, because that's their USP. This is like doing a business basically, starting a business. If it's not a unique, they have to something come up with a something unique in products or something, right? So let's say like Facebook is there, like let's say even like TikTok is there. So there are multiple alternatives of TikTok, like they might be similar but they are like coming with something might be different. So right, so but their purpose is at least business, right? To earn money. Your purpose is to learn basically. So basic suggestion, build anything you like, build anything you like see around you, whatever you are like always like you really love any websites. So For example, I used to really love Facebook, basically YouTube and all these, and like these days, like really like, looking forward towards Google Doc designs and like Google Sheet designs, basically. So now you say, okay, like, okay, these are very complex ones, how to build it? Yeah. So Facebook is not built in like under one day, 1 month, or 1 year, right? So it's a big project, builds over years, basically. So you have to build the small things, right? Try to build a smaller one. Yeah, are they too complicated? Yes, but build small features. Like what actually meaning, right? Small features like a Facebook is what? Like a profile, a Facebook connection, might be a friend, send a friend request, that's it. You know, they can, so start with this only. If you can build this, okay, it's your working, right? So you have built it, right? Which is already a decently complicated one. So if you build 2, 3 features, these are actually good. Now you can try to, go more, basically. Okay, so I think, yeah, someone is also sharing we have frontend mentor.io home, so they have project idea, so you can also check that. So I mean, yeah, so there's also like, generally the problem, but anything you can just see around it, build it, and start building very minimalistic thing. Let's say you can build Zoom also. Start with a very minimalistic one, just a direct video call, right? Don't even store it. Everything is generally like free, basically. You can even stream on the same computer, right? Two different, like 2 different instances or something. So yeah, if you do that, then you can even do that. In sometimes I will tell you, okay. Okay, so we will come to this later on. So anything you come up with, okay, we didn't need backend, we are not backend engineers, like how to build backend, right? You don't need backend, right? You are building front end. So that also means you don't need to build end-to-end things, right? So you can utilize what you have. So try to you mock, basically. Once you know how to mock things, that also improves one of the other skill, which is like testing. Basically, in testing, you need to mock many times. So try to go, basically, you have either a browser DBs you have available, you have local storage, you can try to use it. The question is, remember, the question is again not whether it's the right way or not. Your aim is to just mock it, right? You are open a screen doing some feature testing, it's working as good, right? So that's your aim, basically. So in this way, you can actually build small projects, basically, which actually can enhance your skills, and you will learn a lot of things, basically. So what to build? Anything you like. Just look around you, look any websites you daily use, build around it. You want to improve like UI designing skills, like designing a good layouts or everything. Just see anything which has like a very decent layout which you really like. So I think even go to apple.com websites, they have like really like fancy designs. If you just even try to clone them, there's like really like lots of things you will learn, basically. Okay, that's great. What about interviews? I can crack it with all the things, right? So it will be the answer will be yes and no. So you know all the things which are required for the interviews, but also no, because a specific set of requirements also needed, basically, right? So I feel interview cracking is art, basically. Sorry for the slightly like grammatically wrong, but like interview cracking is an art, basically. So like I have realized all the time, like even if you're doing really great work, you are doing everything, you know everything, but when you go to interviews, they are different, basically. They are not the same. They are different, actually. Okay, so you have to be prepared specific for the interviews, basically. So now we are reaching the interview section. Now we have read about how to get into front end, how to study it, what to read, what not to read, how to build projects. We are doing good right now. This can be for the beginners or anyone who wants to start in the front end, go there, good, become good. Now this part is for everyone, like at any stage, basically, whether you are like senior engineer, anyone like you want to try. So in general, like interview cracking is an art, basically. So yeah. So what are the elements of interviews, basically? So in general, like as far as I have seen, these are the general elements. Like problem solving is one of the elements. Okay. So problem solving and DS algorithms generally are same. They can be sometimes different, like generally, but they are the same only. So machine coding is there. So machine coding where you have to develop an app under 45 minutes. Yes, that's trust me, that's like if you haven't done it, sometimes it becomes tricky, and especially at like slightly senior levels, like because under 45 minutes writing proper code, good quality code and architecture also. becomes tricky. Second, then we have front end design. That's like becomes more and more important if you're like interviewing for more senior roles. So if we talk about generally like SD2, SD3, like SD4, then team lead, staff, principal. So these becomes more and more critical basically, because the more you grow in your role, the more you grow in your career, the with more seniority, generally you might be build, like the more focus is actually on the like designing part basically. So and then managerial rounds basically. So generally these are easy, but they are also kind of important and becomes with senior basically. So because these are not, these are no hard fast rule like how to clear it. It's like he'll talk about it. So problem solving. So uh and DSL go basically. So problem solving in front end is like, so I will again I share like two aspects. One is data structure algorithms. Yeah, one might be straightforward questions like data structures, like might be stack based question, queue, trees, might be a graph based question or a dynamic programming based questions. So they can be straightforward questions you need to solve. You can solve it using JavaScript. Second is there like we have problem solving in front end also, like general problems we face in front end, and you might be asked to solve those questions basically. So this is one of the basically like website big front end dev basically. So so here you will find lots of problems. Now if I start, if you just to give you an example, debounce is one of the problems we generally face in front end, right? So you might be asked to code debounce. Then we have throttling basically. Okay. Sometimes we might be asked about implementation of any of the polyfills basically. So let's say map polyfill, reduce polyfill. So it can be anything basically, like any functions we use basically, like like to ask, we can be asked to implement all of these basically. So that's why if you do these things basically. Now DSL I have already talked to you. Geeks for Geeks, if you do, it has like concepts also, it has it has all the concepts also, it has questions also, lead codes. If you combine these two, if you like be able to do good enough, I don't think so you need anything else. Practice lead code is good. You have weekly contest also, so that's already really great. Second is you can practice on lead code medium. Yeah, and never thought about like, okay, like I am not able to do hard question. Start with easy. If you do easy, like really in every 5-10 minutes you can do great. Move to medium. If you can do mediums question, like all the medium, you really become getting good at it. Yeah, then go to next basically. Step by step process. So that will eventually, that will only help you basically, like just focus on step by step. So and yeah, JS fundamentals always important, like because these problem solving skills, like you want to focus on the solving the problem. If you know your fundamentals well, then things becomes relatively easy basically. JavaScript expertise, yes, if you have like, because every time I go to the interview, for example, every time I give the interviews basically, like with any of the companies, my focus is because I just don't want to say I'm overconfident, but like today I have the confidence, at least I can say that if I can build a solution, right? If you are giving me if a problem is given to me in the interview, and if I can build a solution, first I know the JavaScript, so I know like how to build a solution, because like some JavaScript based things you have to build solution according to it. Like sometimes sometimes you build a generic solution implemented with any language, but JavaScript, you can, there are some things which if you know about JavaScript, you know that they can be like you can use it in solving a problem. But my focus is always is on solve a problem. If I know, even I have 7 minutes to code it, I can code it even in first time if I know the solution basically, because I have confidence on my JavaScript. I know I can code any solution. Yeah, it might be case that I might not able to write a good solution, like a very proper structured solution. But if I have I can definitely code it at least. I can, like all these variables, stemming, modular code, everything is in like my fundamentals. So everything is there. So I can code it. So code is never the worry for me. Worry is, can I build a solution? If I can build a solution, I can quickly code it, test it, and do everything basically. So I don't have never have that tension in my interviews that no, but how to code it, what it will be. No. Okay, so we will take questions in the last Arun. So yeah, I think just a little bit remaining, then we will do Q&A basically. Machine coding basically. So machine coding is basically, you know, it sometimes it's like 45 minutes, 1 hour basically. Sometimes it's like I have seen like it is a very different pattern for different companies. So there can be home assignment basically, which are given to you to send over a few days. So, you know, like it can be like depend on that basically. So depending on the time given to you, the problem can be a little bit big or small. So if it's a 40, generally like in India, basically we have generally like 45 minutes interviews or 1 hour machine coding interviews. So we can be asked to build, you know, build a tree component basically, you know. So we have to build a tree component or build a generic form or building some UI layout. Okay. Like render a table, which you can sort the columns and all those things basically. So, you know, like things like this basically. So that's why, like, and also like if here actually, you know, design patterns are more important basically, because when I gave my first machine coding round, I know a design pattern, it actually helped me a lot, because in machine coding, you know, how you're structuring your code is important, right? So because you're writing in vanilla JS, JavaScript, I think those who code in JavaScript know JavaScript can become messy very soon, right? It can become very dirty, because it's a free flowing language. You can write anything, so it becomes very messy also. So proper structuring is sometimes becomes important until you are using TypeScript or Flow.js basically. So, but yeah, so now the question is how to practice it. You know, like sometimes, you know, how to practice Java, like this machine coding. So you can like write your own problems and start coding in those basically, right? Under 45 minutes, trying to go for the working code, and also try to, if you know already pre-structure, if you know already design patterns, you can do focus on them basically, modular code and everything. So it will help you a lot basically. So I think a data layer is a very important here. You know, how to store the data and everything. If you can manage it very well, if you have practice it, it will actually help you a lot, because data management is actually like kind of becomes important here. Learn design patterns. Yeah, so in front end also we have all these design patterns basically. So we have event emitter pattern, facade patterns, all these patterns are there. So read it, you might not use it every time, but you know, you should have the knowledge. They becomes handy, generally comes handy like many times. Managerial. So like the thing about managerial is like, you know, you can't do anything. It's just like a simple conversational round basically. Okay. So, you know, like the important is like what you are doing basically. You know, for example, you are doing on a project, sometimes like 7 people are working and you are doing something. But if in interview it is asked to you, okay, how you are doing this, like what you are doing, you know, explain the structure, which DB you are using, like how you are managing offline, let's say offline things, caching and everything in front end. So it's not like that, okay, like I haven't contributed to it. You should, at least for the project you are working on, you should have the knowledge of all about that project in depth basically. Okay, so that actually, like, you know, means a lot, that you are actually curious, you have done that, and you are always eager to learn basically, you know. So that actually important. So details actually are important. Second, what kind of projects you are doing, that's also important. For example, recently I know a friend basically who is also like 5 year or something, 6 years. There's also the borderline experience for a E4 and a E5 engineer. So like E5 is like generally like a very big profile, like in any of the any of the like big companies. Like E5 is generally equal to L5 basically. L5 in other companies, or E5. So Facebook is E, other companies like Google use L basically. So, you know, because he has done really good projects, he has lead a team. So that actually helps him even with the interview for E4, he able to get a E5. So that was actually a really good thing basically, you know. So that's why like projects, what you are doing in your current role actually helps you a lot. If you are not doing good projects, irrespective of your 10 years of experience, you will not able to get a senior role in the company, because you haven't done those projects and those things basically, those, you know, those level thing basically. Great. Now how I can have my first job, but wait, how to apply and where? Are enough opportunities? Is pay good enough? I mean, everything is good, right? Okay, learning front end, cracking interviews, right? Everything is good. But I think these three questions are actually the important, right? If these three questions are like, if you don't have the answer of it, there's always the problem at the last step, right? So yeah, let's go one by one. So to apply basically, like to find the opportunities basically. So angel.co, if you are like looking for the startups in your area, in your city, so you can find the startups from all across the globe. You can find the US, you can find in Europe, uh, Australia, Africa, everywhere you can find like multiple startups hosted like angel.co. You can see the opportunities in that company, try to reach out the star, like, founders, recruiters. Indeed.com also I have seen really good, like generally like many good uh, profiles, like good job openings there. LinkedIn, I think the ultimate one. So the question is how to use LinkedIn. So I will say, like try to find the companies, like there's always news going on, which are the hottest startups, new startups coming up. There's a Y Combinator startups going on. So look at it. Then try to find those people on LinkedIn. Try to connect with, networking is important. So always keep networking and try to connect with them. And the referral is the most important thing. If you can get a referral. So I have seen like people give you a referral basically. Sometimes they don't, some like the rate is conversion rate is not might be good. So if you ask for, try to connect with 20 people, 10 will accept, only 2 3 might able to reply, and 1 or 2 will refer. So yeah, it's a little bit more hard work, but I have seen people doing it. I have like when first time I think during my first job or something, I tried for Facebook. Someone referred me actually for Facebook, though like I don't know him personally, but he still referred me. So like I have people doing it. So I mean, that's a good thing. And yeah, sometimes like every city, every country, state has their own communities basically. So try to go to the events basically. Sometimes the conferences keep happening. So for example, if I talk about India, basically, we have React India happening, like we have some like JavaScript events happening, or like in generally, conference happening basically, backend conference or Docker conference or anything. So if you go to them, basically you get able to chance to meet to the team. You can like talk about it, learn about the teams, what they are doing, what projects they are working on. So that actually always helps basically. So like networking again, it comes networking, referrals, and yeah, finding the portals basically. So that always important. And before that, let's assume we have done our like all the things. We have project ready, we have GitHub ready, like we have good contributions of GitHub. And yeah, there are literally n number of opportunities these days. So like in terms of opportunities available, there are like literally n number of opportunities. Like I'm just like always thinking like, when I think of something, okay, like is London having enough opportunities? And when I look at it, there are literally n number of opportunities. Yeah, you might not find sponsor every time, someone who can sponsor visa. The numbers actually go reduce if you try to look for sponsors, but there are companies who sponsor basically. There's like many startups also do sponsor, so that's not an issue basically. But there are like opportunities are like available. If you go to like Europe, basically there are like so many opportunities are there. And yeah, US, the Silicon Valley is there, like you will find like so many opportunities. Then these days remote opportunities are also there. So in terms of opportunities, I will I will say like least to worry. So that's, we don't need to worry about it. So yeah, pay, I think, is the best pay in the industry basically. So there's hardly any differentiation basically. So like so far I have seen like whatever, like because I do, because like I think because when you're applying outside the country basically, or even in my country, basically like you like basically you always want to look for the payouts, right? Because you just because it's a good company or going, you don't know, you are not going to that basically, right? So you want to check the pay also. So pay is in generally good. Europe also, like whatever the pay I have seen, I think it's the same for like all the roles basically. So there's no much differentiation. In India also, like I think the pay is one of the like especially if someone from India switching internally. So I think the pay is one of the best in the industry I have seen. So especially like I think these days like market is really crazy going on. So yeah, if someone wants to switch, best time, make the best out of it. Yeah, so you guys can connect me on LinkedIn and Twitter basically. So on Twitter, my Twitter handle is Rahul Rana _95. And on LinkedIn, yeah, you can search, this is a URL, or you can search, like you can use this URL, and or you can search for Rahul Rana Uber. So I hope it comes on the first page only. If you search Rahul Rana Uber, like I'm the only one Rahul Rana working in Uber, so you can find it on the first page. So yeah, so now we can take the Q&A. So this is all. So thank you so much for listening and having patience and being with me. So yeah, now we can take the questions. So let me start with the.
You
So
scroll
I
up
think
in the chat, we have a few questions already.
so we should start from the top, right?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, so I think we already talked about, I think Uzo shared like there's a frontend mentor.io home where I think you can find project ideas. So that's good. And so Arun asked me, I know how long will it take to prepare to crack good product based companies like Fang, Adobe, Uber, etc. So as I told you, right? So like you have now you know the whole process. So once you start feeling confident about it, like I will say, once you start solving medium lead code question, because see, like all the big companies, there will be DSL go around. That's the most tricky one. So once you like able to have good problem solving skills, I think that's the best time. And like remember, it's like you will never be able to get like okay everything done. It's just that when you are feeling confident you have done enough, start applying. And yeah, I think I will say like another one thing, even if you know everything, if you have known everything, it doesn't mean you will get a job, like you will crack it. Sometimes sometimes like it happens, you even don't know like why you got rejected basically. So last time I know my friend got rejected from Facebook, and we even don't know why, like we have done everything good, right? So sometimes like we don't know. So like we have to be a little patient, but you just try to analyze, okay, like what can you improve. But if you do good, definitely you are like you can easily get like first like you can easily crack company in like 2 3 interviews basically. But sometimes it happens, sometimes it not. So just to share with you, it's a part of the process. So okay, so I think that answer your question, Arun. Is it worth reading You Don't Know JS? Yes, Prabhat, absolutely. I have read it. You Don't Know JS, this like concept of this. So if you read all the 6 books, trust me, and also I have read, I think Promises one, you will get a lot of in-depth knowledge basically. And that's actually good, right? I mean, if you read those books in 1 month, you will eventually be like learn the fundamentals of basically how they are working, and they actually helps you a lot basically. Yeah, so Amal shared eloquent JavaScript. So I think I heard the name, like I don't know, but yeah, I think that's also I think a good book. Malvika asked, how can I get a good how can I get good at design patterns basically. Okay, so I think yeah, there's always like slightly tricky basically, so I think getting good at design patterns basically, so first learn those design patterns, and so try to see what are their applications basically. So whenever you study design patterns, they always give examples basically. So for example, there's a event emitter pattern, there's a event emitter basically, right? Or there's facade pattern there, right? So basically when you go through them, you will see examples basically. There's observer pattern, all this basically. So like whenever you read design patterns, you will find examples. Okay, like this is like a really good example where it might be used in library, it might be used in that's like singularity basically, creating a single object. So you whatever is there, now do research on it, make a small documents over it, and try to code it basically. Try to build like pure JavaScript focus, like JavaScript focus basically. uh, Design it, code it, like use it basically, so but you know how to use it practically. I will say try to read more about actual source code of all the anything open source is there. I think Redux is there. You can try to see, go inside it, and if any design patterns is being used. See, it's a little tricky in the front end. You will not find like everyone is using design patterns, but try to reading already like big open source projects you can find, because definitely there are some good design patterns. Examples read about them and implementing them, you can actually like become good at it. So, and also like every time start thinking like can you make something better in your project, in your company, if you are working by using any design pattern. So that's also like make you thinking about design patterns. uh, Lokesh is asking from where we learn to make projects in vanilla JavaScript. Okay, so I'm not sure like so I think, once you learn all these things, basically you start like, uh, start doing it by yourself. It's not that tough, but still, if you have any issue, I think there are so many sources available on the YouTube basically. So if you try to just say like Vanilla JS project, there will some videos, so you will get an idea. And remember, it's not like everything you have to be learned. Once you get a decent idea, start building it by yourself. Because when you start using like your own mind with like how to make it, you will eventually struggle a lot initially, but once you get, after like a few days, you will get smooth at it basically after one or two projects. Okay, Uzo asking, I usually see one or two backend technologies as a part of the job requirements for frontend. I noticed you didn't add any backend technology in your map. My question is, do you think a developer who is looking to specialize in frontend is supposed to learn some backend technologies? So, I mean, yeah. So see, that's why sometimes it comes, sometimes it not, but it's generally not a hardcore requirement. But like as we know, Node.js is like a Node.js is a backend language basically. So, but Node.js is actually like a front-end engineer should also know, because we have sometimes frameworks and everything, because again it's a JavaScript also. So like like you should able to like know basics about Java Node.js, because like our server side frameworks basically are like they are with Node.js only. So but if except Node.js they are asking anything, there's like a becomes kind of a little bit full stack, because generally they don't expect it basically. So but if you can get the clarity in general, basically ask the recruiter if like do they ask you to do any backend code or anything basically. So generally it should not be, I maximum time I haven't seen it, but yeah. Philip, please can we get the roadmap slide again? So we don't have exactly have the roadmap, basically just like JavaScript fundamentals, building projects using vanilla JavaScript, HTML, CSS, the problem solving data structure algorithms, and yeah, React frameworks. Malavika is asking, can you name some companies who are profitable and sponsor Visa? Okay, sure. So I think the first company that I will share like is like one of the like like we in my college we always used to dream and want to go is Booking.com in Amsterdam. So they have offices in across uh multiple they have like few offices across around the world basically. Definitely sponsor Visa, very good company I guess in general. So Booking.com is there, except like few of my friends also went there. So Booking.com is there, then Databricks is there in Amsterdam, Miro is there in Amsterdam. Okay, and Berlin we have DoorDash is there. We have Delivery Hero is there. Okay, uh, Klarna is one of the finance companies there. Then in London we have all the big major companies sponsor their Visa there. Like Google, Amazon, Facebook, Microsoft is there. So like so many companies are there basically which actually do it. So even like there's a TransferWise fintech startup, Clio fintech startup. So there are so many companies. So I will say like if you want to, so my suggestion is here is, if you're looking for those company who sponsor, you can look for the companies in London, Amsterdam, Berlin, and Dublin is the new hub coming up. I have seen so many people going to Dublin. So Dublin is also a tech hub, basically like a new emerging tech hub. So you can try there basically. So there you can have intercom companies there. Stripe is there, startup, and trust me, all these companies they pay at the top end of the like generally of their places. Okay, so someone is asking Web3 growing. So I want to read about it, but I haven't see too much to read. Like I don't have too much knowledge right now about Web3. Communicate front-end apps with blockchain protocols. I think you can read about it. There's nothing wrong. Knowledge is always good, basically. So you can definitely read about it. It's always good to know. Okay, so Megan is asking, what type of project should we build for getting into Indian product startup? No college style, just skill based. Okay, so so I'll tell you. See, so if like especially if you going about pure skill based, generally like it should not be an issue. Sometimes like you will might face a little friction, but should not be a major issue. So again, these are the same skills like everywhere for anyone. Yeah, if more on the college one, so I remember I get my first job which I started with help shift. out of college, basically that's off the side did offline, like sorry, off campus. And I have given 7-8 interviews, and like trust me, like whatever has been asked, like till that time it has not been asked in my interviews basically. So again, fundamentals are important basically, and like you should know your language, like anything framework, projects you have built basically. So, and I will say like keep your fundamentals, make sure like generally the important things from college students asked is about the database management system, DBMS. Generally we have courses on DBMS, operating system, and networking. Not sure if always asked, especially I'm not talking about front end, but because you have studied it, make sure you have the decent knowledge of it. It comes handy basically. Okay, Daniel is asking, could you give in instance in your day-to-day work where you use knowledge from data structure algorithms to solve a problem? Okay, sure. So I think okay, so like we have tree basically. So we used one of the tree basically, and there is like a good tree, and we have to filter it basically. So we have to use a recursion a lot basically. That's the first thing basically. Use sorting, like going through the tree, and basically doing recursion over it. So there's like a basic tree and DFS and BFS application. Second is like we again have a tree structure coming up, and you can have any node selected, and you have to find the parent to children. You need to show the path basically. So again, it's like a DFS problem basically. So like these are the two basically, and basically then like I remember in one of my previous companies we used to work. So we maintain a queue basically, and that the queue is very important because it's a mailing system, and like everything that comes in order have to be executed in the order or reverse it, whatever. Because let's say if a folder is deleted, you are again creating it and deleting it. That order has to be maintained. So there we were using queue structure basically. So these are the like a basic example of it basically. Daniel, I hope. Yeah, as I told you, it's not like every time you might be using it, but it's like two problems. First, you learn the problem solving, and second, it's needed for the interviews. So my approach is, if it is asked me in the interviews, just do it. I mean, like it's not like that you can escape it. So any good resource?
Rahul, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just see that we have only 2 minutes left. We still have some
Okay.
questions. I'm wondering if you would want to take those offline, and we can share that with the group. So we take all the questions, and maybe you can provide a written answer, and then we can share it with the group. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. I guys, yeah. So I think definitely first provide the feedback. I hope you really enjoyed the session. So go to MentorColor and like please provide the feedback about the session. It will help like also me improving for any future session I will have, or also the MentorColor team to organize it better for every one of you. And yeah, that's the first thing. And yeah, so for any questions, I think I really sorry not able to take all the questions. So for all the questions, you can reach out to me on Twitter and LinkedIn, basically, as you can see. So reach out to me there. I'm happy to answer. Yeah, just bear with me. I mean, sometimes like there might be lots of queries, but I will try to make sure I reply to everyone. So yeah, I will like put your questions there, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have. Yeah, over to you.
Yeah, thanks a lot for the session, Raul. Like it was very informative, and it went also into depth. I'm sure lots of learning from the group. So like Raul said, please fill out the feedback form and give us some feedback. It's going to be super helpful for both Raul and for us. And also like go book Raul and other mentors on MentorColor. They're here to help you. Some of you have some specific questions. That's why we have MentorColor. So you can ask these questions to your mentors, and they're going to guide you individually. And finally, we'll try to get some like answers to some of the questions, and we can share that somehow to all of you. So thanks a lot for today. And yeah, we hope to see you in future sessions. So go on mentorcolor.org and yeah, benefit from everything we're trying to provide to you.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you everyone. And yeah, like as he said, basically, yeah, feel free to book sessions. I mean, we have mentors for all the platform, all the like technology stack basically, and so many senior people are there. feel free to book it. And if you want to like have a conversation with me or you want to book a session, go to MentorColor, feel free to book a session basically, and would love to have a conversation with anyone.
Thank you. All right. Have a nice day, everyone. Bye.